The 2024 F1 season is over and Max Verstappen is the champion. And also, McLaren is the Constructors champion. Let's go on a run through the season about the overachievers, the underachievers, and what we think is going to happen next season.
Max Verstappen has won his 4th championship in a row now. Once again, pure dominance. Like, even at times, he didn't even have the fastest car, and he's still winning. And there's no excuse as well, because he's got people like Perez, who's in the exact same car as him, and Perez is finishing near the bottom at times.
Yeah, like literally Perez, most of the season was around 10th place on average, I would say. I haven't looked at it, but I think the average was 10th place. But yeah, he was the only driver out of the top 4 teams to not get a win. There were 7 race winners this season and he was the only one. And to see your teammate win the title and you are not even on the, like, you're nowhere near, it's crazy. I'm surprised he's still in the car. But let's just get back to Max Verstappen. He's got 63 wins now, so he is now in the top 3 wins ever. So there's Hamilton, Schumacher, and then him. So he's already, I said this to you as well, he's already top 6 for championships ever. He's in the top 6 drivers for championships ever. At the age of, I think he's around 27. So it's mental. 28, 27, probably around that age. It's mental. That is really young. And he could arguably, he's got the potential to be the GOAT. He has the potential to be the GOAT.
I have a question. Do you think he'll be the GOAT though? Do you think he's going to end up the GOAT?
Yeah, I've heard interviews from him in the past saying like he's not trying to go for his whole career. He's not trying to be, you get what I mean? He's not trying to be in F1 his whole career. He said that he's not trying to go till 40 or 45 like Alonso and Hamilton. Yeah. But if he does get to that, I think he will. I think he might equal them at worst. He'll equal them. But the thing with him is, it's not really about him. He just needs to be in a top level car. Because if he's in a shit car, like you've seen with Hamilton, what's been happening, when you get a good car and when you don't get a good car, Red Bull has also been dominant with his quality at the same time. He does need that partnership. Because let's say he goes off to Ferrari in the future, you never know, or he goes to Mercedes and they have a bad car. He won't be able to replicate this dominance. Yeah. Do you understand my point? So it's a matchup of both. But if he stays on this form and he has a decent level car, of course he can. Of course he can. I think he's got more championships than Hamilton at this age.
Because what he's doing is not normal. His first debut season, I think he was 17. And what?
He's the youngest driver.
He was already winning races from then.
Exactly. He's the youngest F1 driver in history. But yeah, his dominance, I would just say his qualities. He will literally, at the end of the season, there was a point with Norris where he would literally push you off the track, then let you win. Like, this guy is a fierce competitor. You can compare him to people like Ronaldo in football, Cristiano Ronaldo, and Michael Jordan in basketball.
Or like Jose Mourinho in football. This guy will do, by all means, will do whatever it takes to win. It doesn't matter if he has to bend the rules or supposedly cheat. Yeah. He'll do whatever
to get the win. He has the same characteristics of a lot of like top level athletes, where anything to win. This guy rarely ever makes mistakes. Rarely ever. That's why he's so good. If you look at, for example, we'll shift over to McLaren, where you look at Norris. Norris had times where he's driving well, and then there's times where he's not. So I think it's been so impressive. And this is what happens. When you win so much, people don't congratulate you anymore. They get used to it. Innit? Like, this is what happened with Hamilton. In the Hamilton era, this happened as well. I think in the Vettel era, they actually hated him. He was hated because he won so much. So when it's like even Man City in football. If you watch football, Man City win back to back to back. It gets to a point where you're not getting congratulated anymore. People are out to get you. Yeah. And he's had that target on his back. He knows the whole field is out to get him, and he still consistently performs.
It's been a lot more competitive this year in F1 compared to recent years in the past. Because this year, you've had 7 race winners from Ferrari, Mercedes, McLaren, all being up there, challenging Verstappen at times. Whilst other years, before Verstappen's era now, it was obviously Hamilton constantly dominating. But now it makes it more competitive, and that makes it more interesting for the viewer, because it's nice to see other people win rather than just seeing the same champion win all the time. You're going to get bored eventually.
Literally, that's why it's good for the audience, it's good for the sport. It's the same thing in football. When you have competitive teams going up against each other, like for example, that Max and Verstappen year, 2021, that was one of the most enjoyable seasons because it was back and forth compared to last season, where even though it's amazing what Verstappen's doing, it's not his fault, it's the competition that has to catch up. But it shows how, like, entertainment in sport, you need competition. So, like, I think Verstappen finished 53 points ahead of Norris this season. So it shows how much closer it was compared to last season, where his points alone would have won the Constructor Championship.
That is mental.
And talking on the Constructors Championship, McLaren were named Constructors Champions of the Year for the first time, I think, in almost 25 for something like that.
1998 or something.
Yeah, something like that. So like around 25, 30, like almost 25 years. Yeah, so it's mad. Like, that's the importance of having two top quality drivers. And I've already spoke on Norris. Norris and Piastri, they're a young pairing. And yeah, they are taking, like, I think they are the future. That partnership right now, it might not be the best at the moment, but the potential is there. They both got their first race wins this season, and they've just, I think there's been mistakes, there's been steps in the road, but I think both of them, it's a learning curve this season. Even though they've performed really well, they've got their race wins, they've been up there when the car's been good. At times maybe they've made mistakes, but as a whole they've been up there, they've been consistent. So I think bringing this into next year, I think even Norris said this himself, now he's going for the driver championship, not just the constructors champions. So I think that would be really important for the future, because look at something like Red Bull, where you've got Verstappen dominating, but his teammate,
Perez all the way down,
all the way at the bottom. So now we've got a thing where he can't, not every season, like what he did last season was magical. You can't carry in the constructors every year. Sooner or later, what's gonna happen? You can't keep doing that every year. The other teams are gonna catch up.
This season, Lewis Hamilton struggled quite a lot, getting beat by his teammate Russell as well. Of course, he had a good win at Silverstone, very emotional win for him as well in his last season for McLaren. Mercedes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He obviously has had so many highs, best driver of all time, but now I feel like he's not at his best at the moment. Like, maybe because of old age compared to the other drivers.
Or maybe it's just he needs a fresh start. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe he's just, you can see he kind of looks sick of being at that team. The last couple of years, the car has been horrible for him. But also, I think this season we saw where it got to a point where you can't keep blaming the car. At a point, it was also his performances that weren't great. Being, like you've just said, being outscored by his teammate, George Russell. So it shows that it's a part. At the start, everyone's like, oh, you've ruined the car. Lewis can't compete. It's not his fault. He's in a bad car. But slowly it shifts to sometimes it is Lewis' fault. So I don't know if it's either he's just tired and worn out and he just wants to be in a competitive car, or it's actually age is getting to him. But that's why it's going to be so key to see what happens at Ferrari. It's a new fresh start, it's a new change. He has shown glimpses of this season of his old quality, but do you get what I mean? Getting back to the old ways where he was dominating week in, week out.
Getting back to that top level.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy.
He's got Leclerc now as well to deal with as his teammate for Ferrari. He's also won a couple of races this year. He's a top driver, so that's another challenge he has to face when he moves to Ferrari. And yeah, we're just going to see how he does. Obviously, I hope personally, because he's my favourite driver, he wins his 8th championship and eventually goes out on a high.
Exactly, because if he does that and he wins his 8th, it's solidified, done, GOAT. You are the GOAT. Because right now, we can call him the GOAT, but it's still up in the air. You've still got the same as Schumacher. But Do you get what I mean? And when you've solidified the most championships ever, you've got the most wins ever, you've got the most everything ever. Statistically, he's the best ever. If you just top that off with the 8th, done. Game's done, over, you can just retire straight there. Some underachievers that have been in F1 this season is someone like Sergio Perez, who we spoke on before, who has been very poor. I think he's got worse. He's got worse back to, and you need to see Sergio Perez. He's horrible right now, but he has not always been a bad driver. The reason he's even in a Red Bull car is because for the Force India team, he was a solid driver. But you can't, how do I explain it? And the first season where Max Verstappen won the championship, he was key in that. There was times where he was defending against Lewis Hamilton.
I remember that. Yeah,
you remember that?
Yeah.
You see what I mean? And it helped him win that championship. You see how slim the margin was. If Sergio Perez wasn't there in that 2021 season, they wouldn't have won it. And I think that's the reason why Red Bull have kept him on, because of, you know what I mean? Because of how much he helped back then. But he's driving off the past.
He's living off that, yeah.
He's literally living off the past.
I'm just going to say it straight. The guy is an absolute scrub. How are you not winning a fucking race in what literally arguably the fastest car? You're not winning a race.
He didn't have a fastest car this season,
Well,
but he wasn't even close. It's not even like getting the podiums. He's so far away from the podiums. There's drivers in way worse cars outperforming you. Not even outperforming you where you're still ahead of them. They're passing you. There's been times the junior Red Bull is past you. You're in the senior Red Bull and the junior Red Bull is past you. So personally, I do not see, if you're basing it, driving should be based on performance.
Yes.
If you're basing it on performance and the way they've lost this driver constructors championship,
It's down to him.
It's literally down to him. So
him.
you can't keep giving man 15, 16 chances. He needs to, I can't see him in this car next season. If he's in the car in 2025, oh my days. There must be some dodginess some sponsorship, some dodginess going on behind the scenes. Because I believe someone like either Liam Lawson, I think it's still a bit too early for him, but I think there was someone else that you said should be in it.
Sonoda, innit?
Yeah, Yuki Tsunoda.
Every person that's been with him, he's always outshone, and he's just never been given a chance to step up to Red Bull.
Yeah, he's beat, what's his name, Ricardo?
Yeah.
I think he did. Liam Lawson did really well against Tsunoda, but I think it was competitive. It was really close. Liam Lawson's a top talent, and then also there was Gasly. I think Tsunoda did really well against Gasly, but he was the younger one, so it was fine at that time. That's when he just joined. But yes, he's been at that team for a couple of years now, and he's been performing. He's been up there. Every time they've set a target for him, he's shattered it. And I've seen a video of him, coupled literally at the end of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, he was testing out the actual Red Bull. So they put him in the actual Red Bull to see what his speed would be like.
Did he get?
I'm not sure. They put Liam Lawson in as well. They put him and Liam Lawson. So they're going to see, and I think they put Perez in to test their speed to see maybe we'll replace him. So yeah, Perez, your time is up, I'll be honest. I don't see, he's had more than enough time to...
He's had more than enough chances.
I think the only thing with Tsunoda is he has calmed down this season, but I think the only thing Tsunoda is his attitude.
These guys are fucking retarded.
Okay, don't worry. Plenty of time.
If his attitude where he gets, sometimes you heard the radio where he goes mad, he just gets mad angry. You can't be doing that, especially in the top driving class. I think that's the only thing. Other than that, give him his shot. If he doesn't do well, you can't do worse than that.
Yeah.
You can't. So just give him his shot. I don't think he will get his shot, but he deserves it.
It's nice to see a couple new drivers come into F1 next season. I've heard of this Antonelli guy.
Yeah.
Who does he drive for again?
He's gonna drive so he's taking Hamilton's seat, so he'll be driving for Mercedes next year, and he's been a top talent. I think he did do a practice session this season, and he crashed on the first practice session he did. So it wasn't a good start, but that's normal. He's 18. Yeah. That's gonna happen. But he is a top talent.
So yeah, it's just hopefully we can just see his talent, see how he does, see how the other young drivers do. And I know in F1 as well.
He's Italian as well, so it's been a while since there's been an Italian driver in F1. There's another driver, I can't even say his name, Bononetto, but I can't say his name. The Brazilian driver. I think he's in Alpine. Am I bugging? I don't know, but I know there's a Brazilian driver joining. That's another person that hasn't. They haven't had a Brazilian driver for a while, since I think Felipe Massa. So that would be good to see another Brazilian driver. There's going to be a lot of changes, a lot of new drivers, which is good. Shake it up a bit, because I know last season, at the start of the season, the driver list didn't change.
The likes of Bottas, Magnussen and Ricciardo are leaving F1. They're past their best years now. They've had decent careers in F1. Obviously, Bottas being Lewis Hamilton's ex-teammate, Ricciardo being in the Red Bull in 2014, and Magnussen as well. Yeah, it just happens in every sport. Everyone has their time, they get past their peak. And then, as we were just talking before, we got these new drivers coming in. It's their time to shine.
And they're just
you know what I mean?
They're literally just hungry. You don't want drivers in a car where they just, like, it's kind of like they're not really targeting anything. They're not trying to become world champions. They're just there to collect their wage, and they're good to be a mid-table or low grid team. Do you get what I mean? You want drivers that are hungry, that maybe might start a low grid team, but they want to build it up and raise their stock. So it's just, I feel like for Bottas might have a chance to join back in the future, especially with a new team being added, Cadillac. I think in 2026, not next season, the Cadillac will be added. So there'll be 22 cars on the grid instead of 20. So I think that will be important. So like, Bottas could come back, because he hasn't performed bad. That Sauber was the worst car on the whole grid. They were literally 17th, 18th every qualifying, finishing last. So it hasn't been his fault. He's still a decent driver. But yeah, I think it is time. Maybe it's time to move on. Maybe he can join back in 2026. But yeah, he's coming near the end. It's just a couple seasons to help out. One driver that's impressed me this season is Hülkenberg. This guy has been in the Haas, who, compared to other seasons, the Haas hasn't been good other seasons, but this season it performed. This season the Haas, they were breaking the top 10. He had really good drives, outperforming the car. This guy, he's earned himself a seat at Sauber in the future because of his performances. Where a couple of years ago, he was literally in F1 and then he got thrown out. He wasn't in F1 for a few years, and he's come back in and he's shown his quality. So I think in the people need to look out for Hülkenberg. He is a top driver. He's also one of these drivers that are getting near the end. But yeah, he's performed. He surprised me this season, being really consistent. So yeah, what's the main thing you're excited for next season?
The main thing I'm excited for next season, obviously seeing Lewis in the Ferrari. Hopefully they make the car good, so he has a real shot of going for that championship. Obviously easier said than done. You've got Max there, you've got Norris, he looks promising as well. And he's got his teammate Leclerc he has to worry about. And
Leclerc's been there for 5 years. So do you think Leclerc's just going to let you come into the team and take over? Yeah, so it's going to... And Leclerc is a top driver. He's a top driver. He's really good at qualifying. I think he needs to improve his race results, because sometimes he does qualify first and doesn't follow through. But yeah, I think it's going to be hard for Lewis. But yeah, I think if you wanted any driver to call to prove yourself, it would be him. I think the main thing I'm excited for next season is to see Piastri progress. Because I actually think long term he might be better than Norris. He's younger than Norris. He got his first win before Norris. And Norris is a good driver, but Piastri at his age, the way he's performing, right at the top, qualifying top 2, top 3, all the time, and he's supposed to be the second driver.
I get what you're saying. You think he has a higher ceiling?
Yeah, the reason they won the Constructors' Championship, you could argue, is because of him and his teamwork and his performances. So I think, watch out for Piastri. He could potentially overtake Norris. Maybe not next season, but in the near future, he could potentially.
Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and let us know your favourite moments from the F1 2024 season in the comment section down below. We're out.